If you look at the Honda Hornet CB1000 SP and the Suzuki GSX-8TT, it's very clear that they're two extremely different motorcycles. One of them is 150 brake horsepower, 1000cc inline four screamer with a whole host of tasty hardware such as Öhlins and Brembo, whereas the other one is an 80 brake horsepower parallel twin roadster with some pretty basic KYB suspension and Nissin brakes. So given the fact that they are so wildly different, why on earth on my GSX-8TT launch video was the Honda Hornet 1000 SP mentioned a heck of a lot? Well, there's one good reason for that, and it is the price. They're both, near as damn it, £10,000. So in this video, we're going to talk about price versus perceived value and have a look at the two bikes that have seemingly got everybody talking. Stick around. So I guess one of the first most obvious things to talk about is the power difference. One of them has 150 brake horsepower, which is pretty damn quick, and the other has a more modest 80. And whilst we do seemingly live in a world where, you know, bigger is better, I think maybe it is just a case of different strokes for different folks. Like, there may be a few people out there who absolutely love the thought of 150 brake horsepower in a screaming inline 4 package, and I get it, it's enticing, it's thrilling, it's sexy. But then I feel like there are people out there that prefer low down grunts and like a big shunt from low down in the revs. I kind of feel like I'm one of those people. I like the torque, I like the usable everyday power. I do feel like some people live their life like, give me more power, I want more power. And then you get some that are like, oh my god, 110 again. No, I can't keep doing this. This will wind up with a driving ban if I carry on. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, there are different rationales for wanting different amounts of power. Another thing to consider, comfort. You know, not everybody wants a very stripped back, sporty naked with a very hard seat. This Hornet seat isn't the plushest thing on the earth, and the TT, when I was at the launch of that seat is lovely, absolutely beautiful, so plushy, so comfy, zero complaints from me. Alright, let's get to the front. Oh, I do make a case for that power though. I do make a case because it is delicious. And that sound, oh, that wah! You know, the Hornet, he does provide a very good case when you sit on it and you wind it on. Yes, I'll give it that. Although admittedly this isn't the SP. But the reason we talk about the SP is because it is pretty much the same price as the TT. And the SP comes with the Öhlins and the Brembos and all that sexy stuff. Another thing to consider, pride of ownership. You know, when you fill your motorcycle up at a petrol station and you look back at it, I mean, do you look back at it for a start? Because if you look back at it, then in my opinion you've got the right bike. Would you look back at the Honda Hornet and think, oh, that is a sexy piece of work? Would you look back at the GSX-8TT and think, oh, that is sexy, that's a bit of meat? It just depends what you like. Everybody's so different, and everybody has their own, you know, preferences of what tickles the pickle. Another thing to consider, build quality. Now, it does beg the question how Honda can produce the Hornet and the Hornet SP so cheaply, you know, given its incredible stats. And I don't know, I feel like when you do look at the Hornet, there are things that, you know, look a bit plasticky, a bit more flimsy. You know, you've got that subframe that's welded to the main frame. It's not a, you know, separate item. You don't have your frame and your subframe. It's just all welded into one. And some of the welds, you know, you can tell that the love and attention hasn't been taken with the welds on the Hornet at all. That's a completely different picture when it comes to the Suzuki. You know, it has, the build quality is pretty beautiful. It's pretty nice. So I can't knock it in that regard either. And I feel like a lot of you are going to be saying, Kate, wow, this is kind of really, you know, biased in Suzuki's favour. And it's not, because, you know, you guys are commenting about the price, what you can get, for a reason. All I'm trying to do is play devil's advocate and say not everybody cares about the numbers that are written down on the spreadsheets. Another thing to consider, cost of ownership. You've got to look at insurance. You know, it might all be well and good thinking, oh yeah, that's better value for money, but if you're struggling to get insured on a litre bike versus, you know, a 776cc motorcycle, there's that to consider as well. So you guys may or may not know, but my channel is sponsored by Bikesure Insurance, and they have insured me for the longest time, I think going on 6 years now. And I got in touch with them to get an example quote, what it would be for me, you know, to be insured on both the bikes. And the Hornet came out most expensive at £698. And the Suzuki came in with the same details and everything like that at £408. So quite a difference really. So you got to factor these things in. You got to factor in things like tyre wear and fuel and all that jazz as well. Servicing and stuff like that. Now I have just jumped on this bike. I haven't managed to ring any places up and see, you know, the price of servicing of these two bikes, but you know, you've got to check these things so that you're not caught out with unexpected costs. Do your research, do your due diligence. Oh, horn. But no, I do fully understand why people are throwing the Honda CB1000 Hornet SP in the mix. I understand, I get it. One of the ways I feel like Suzuki might be struggling with pricing is, you know, kind of within their own range. So, you know, they've released the TT at £9,999, but they've currently got the GSX-8S on offer at the moment with a £800 dealership contribution. And the problem is I've seen dealers, you know, adding a bit of their own contribution onto that, so you can pick an 8S up for like £6,999, and that's like £3,000 less than what is effectively the same machine in a different dress, in a different overcoat. You know, so I think they've put themselves in a bit of a tricky predicament there with that. I feel like people are used to paying a little bit more, you know, historically for a retro schemed bike, like you have it with Yamaha's XSR range. The XSR 900 is going to be more than, you know, an MT-09, so there is that. But £3,000, whew, bit steep that, bit steep. So I guess one of the questions is, which would I buy? It's such a tricky one, because I do feel like I have an emotional attachment to that parallel twin engine. I love the torque, I love the grunt, I love the dash, I love the looks, I love the build quality. I love so much about the bike. But then I guess you do get on a Honda Hornet like this, open up that throttle on a motorway or a dual carriageway or a set of beautiful twisty bends, and then it all kind of makes sense. But yeah, I feel like there are so many factors that influence people's buying decisions. What would your choice be? Would you go Honda Hornet 1000 SP, or would you go Suzuki GSX-8TT? And do you think Suzuki have a bit of a questionable pricing strategy at the moment? Because, you know, I'm a Suzuki fangirl and I feel like it's making me raise an eyebrow a little bit. That being said, the 8TT, did I absolutely adore that launch, slinging it around some sexy Slovenian roads. Absolutely. Right guys, be vocal in the comments and let me know what you all think, because it's clearly quite a topic. Alright guys, I hope you have enjoyed this. Catch you on the next one. Bye!